Okay, welcome back to Team RunRun's interview series 5 by 20-second interview intervals. And today we're lucky to have Coach Brian Locher. And Brian, where are you based?
Seattle, Washington.
Very good.
We're getting nice sunny days now, so there's a lot of people out
Good. It
running
is
for
running
sure.
season. Well, we're nice and warmed up. How long have you been a Team RunRun coach, and what do you like about it the most?
About 9 months now. When I stopped coaching face-to-face collegiately, this is a really good sort of second act to follow up. I love coaching and wanted to be able to work with athletes in some capacity. And I found that like humanizing the online coaching experience has been a really rewarding experience for me. And it seems to be the same for my athletes as well. So, I think one of the things that can get lost in translation when working online is just like losing touch of the people you work with. And so I try to keep in touch. I reply to my athletes probably twice a week or more and update workouts based on injuries and whatnot. And just again, trying to humanize that experience and make it valuable for the
Yeah,
people
for
I work
sure.
with.
We build really strong bonds with these athletes, and communication is key, and knowing what they have going on in their lives is really helpful.
Yeah,
Very
it is.
good. Since you've had so much success coaching and experience, what is one or two things that a runner can do to maintain lasting success in the sport?
Yeah, I think there's two things like they kind of play off each other, but one is just learning your body, and part of that, and to go with that is knowing knowing when to take rest or when you can push harder. So, learning your body. And again, some of the runners that I work with are beginning runners, and, they may not know pace or heart rate or whatnot quite as well. So, the more they're able to sort of sink in and really be in tune with their body while they're running, I think really helps them to stay injury free and, progress in the sport really well. I have one young lady who, she hasn't run since she was in high school, and I don't know exactly how old she is now, but much older than that, and she's actually done a really great job of intuitively following the paces I prescribe and the effort levels and stuff like that. And so, making sure that you're not doing too much or pushing yourself over the edge, or just because your coach prescribes something doesn't mean it's always the right thing. Like if you feel a niggle in your hip or something going on in your calf and it doesn't feel right, it's typically best to just kind of shut it down for a while and then, ask for suggestions later rather than trying to push through. So I would say that those two things are the biggest. And then to go along with that is just strength training, right? Strength training helps to prevent injuries long term and is good for us as we age. So I think that's another piece that's really important for runners to continue to get involved in as they progress in their running
Yeah,
journeys.
those are all great points. Yeah, I think the data obsession right now is a little out of hand. So getting runners to run by feel is always
Totally.
good. And then, yeah, the strength training,
Yeah.
we can all use reminders. It takes a lot to stay on top of it.
Yeah, I was listening to a pod the other day, and it was talking about Matthew Centritz Senior, and how he used to basically he would tell his athletes they had to throw their watches to the side; they
Right.
weren't allowed to use them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a throwback. I know we're not quite in those times, but being able to fill the pace instead of have to look at your watch all
Yeah.
the time is important.
I had to play it by feel with one of my athletes, but I finally told him to throw the watch out this weekend. We'll see how that goes.
Good for you.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
Along with that, then, what are one or two of your favorite workouts for yourself or to assign?
Yeah, I mean I've been doing this a long time, so I have a lot of favorite workouts. But the two that come to mind off the top of my head are I really love doing progression runs, and this is a personal. I really personally love doing progression runs. I'm not sure why exactly, but it's like I think part of it is that you get to build into the workout itself, so you don't have to hit that pain zone like a VO2 workout really early in the workout and try to like just push through it. You have to you have some time to settle in, get a rhythm, and kind of like you hit the pain zone later after you've built some confidence into the workout. So it's one that I really enjoy doing, and I think it's really important too for nearly any runner who's in especially distance runners, obviously, who are doing 5K up to marathon. Getting into the progression, doing a progression one run, and some people aren't familiar with that term. So another term is steady state or aerobic threshold. And so, starting at a reasonable pace and continuing to chop the pace down until you're, in going through lactate threshold is a really fun workout, and it's really
Mm-hmm.
useful. And another one that I really like, and I think it's great for anyone, 5K runners who are training as well as marathoners as a little bit of a speed work, is what's called critical velocity. So I use it on the track as like 1,000-meter repeats with 200 rest in between, or I use it, if you're doing a fartlek like here in Seattle around Green Lake, for instance, you can do 3 to 4 minute intervals with like 90 seconds rest in between. So you get that lactate threshold. It's really good for a lot of different training zones and outputs and whatnot. And so the stats and watch people love that type of workout. And you definitely get in the pain zone by the end too. So it's a good
For
fitness
sure.
builder.
Yeah, those are both great hallmarks of training. And I was just at Green Lake a couple months ago. It is a nice place to run. So very good.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's one of my favorites.
You're an award-winning coach at the collegiate level. What have you learned most from the athletes you coached during that time?
I think when I first started out in coaching, I was very rudimentary in my training design. And, and this is in my 20s. So when the athletes weren't doing as well as I thought they should, it was definitely their fault, not mine. But as I've aged and worked with more athletes, my training philosophy's changed, of course. And, what I now understand is that oftentimes, you have to look back at yourself and see what was correct or incorrect. But ultimately, that almost nothing goes to plan. So it's just kind of like, coming back to, it doesn't matter. There's no perfect design for a workout. There's no perfect design for an athlete. You do the best you can, and you've got to use the tools you have. I mean, people get sick. There's bad days. There's stressful days. There's all kinds of things. There's bad weather. You may have the perfect workout, the perfect situation, but someone comes in and it's just not the right day for them. So, I think part of it is just like, you have to take advantage of the opportunities when they're presented to you. Like when you're fit, you don't exactly have like this perfect peak. You gotta find a race when you're fit.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good take home for us. Yeah. Definitely things never go according to plan. So we have to be ready to roll with it. Great. And then lastly, how would you describe yourself, your coaching style?
I think I'm holistic. I think that's kind of a catchphrase these days in terms of coaching, but I think really do, and without a better term to sort of throw out there, I like different avenues of coaching. So, I have a background in strength training, coached a lot of track athletes who did strength training. So I think that's really important for distance runners, as well as, any type of athlete should be involved in strength training. But I also do gait analysis. I think we can improve with running analysis and running gait. I can coach anything from, 5K up to marathon, like I was saying before. I think that the mental component of running and distance running in particular is really underserved. So, tapping into sort of the mental psyche and teaching and coaching individuals who are struggling in that aspect, I think is really important. Or not even just struggling, just tap into it in general. It's always helpful. It doesn't have to be you're struggling. It's good for everybody to get involved there. So again, I take this well-rounded approach to my training and the training I do to my athletes. And so I would say holistic coaching is probably is my
Awesome.
my calling.
Yeah, excellent. Well, Team RunRun's lucky to have you, Brian. And as always, we want to embrace the athlete with passion, grit, focus, and care. So thanks, Brian, and we'll see you out there. Thank you.
Sounds
Bye.
good. Thank you, Kyle.